Welcome to the Vault Excel. Thank you for joining me. Hope you all have a safe weekend. Please be careful while out venturing to games, said activities, mind the children. This commentary is going to be vast and open. I will discuss many topics at will during this live stream. Thank you for joining me. First, I want to start off by expressing myself, which I shouldn't have to say what I'm going to say, but I want to say it because some of you need to hear it. Some of you don't know me. A few of you, only a handful of you who have ever watched this network have gotten to know me on a personal level outside of the Vault XL, formerly Everyday Shenanigans. And I want to say this. What I bring to this network, you don't get on another network because I'm not them and they are not I. I give my personal opinion, and at any given time, I can change my mind about what I have said on this network. Any commentary I bring with a source. Not he said, not she said, not gossip, but a source. Every blue moon, I'll mention something that somebody said, but I don't claim it and I don't put my stamp on it. First thing I want to clear my throat about is the Murdaugh family. Two of you have commented in the past hour pertaining to me asking about Buster Murdaugh being gay. Let me make this clear to you. I can ask any damn thing I want to ask about a true crime case. There are dead people surrounding this family. So therefore, the dead ain't talking, but I am. And if I can go right now in Google and pull up an article pertaining to Buster Murdaugh and Stephen Smith having a relationship, what does that tell you? I'll wait. That somebody else was thinking the same damn thing. This family has probably been involved in corruption from generations, generation through generation to generation. And who's to say what these children were about? One left standing. You don't know because you don't know them. But I won't doubt that there are many people who could possibly spin a story about these people and their demeanor, plural, -2. The mom's dead and the son's dead. Why would you get offended because I asked if Buster is gay? My community page is just what it is, a community page. For me to express myself and allow you to express yourself, I put up polls pertaining to true crime breaking news, asking you various questions that many people want to know and don't have the guts to ask. Well, I'm that person. I don't have a problem with asking because it appears that the young boy was gay. And before I even knew that he was confirmed gay, I assumed that when I saw his photograph. I looked at him and I said, he looks feminine. So I didn't have to really tread any further. I asked what I want to ask. And obviously, some people are possibly wondering about Buster, his relationship with this young man, friendship, courtship, however you want to word it. What was going on in the lives of these young people. And if you have a news agent asking the question, then why is it a crime if Queen asks the question on her community page? Because it ain't. So for Miss Churchwell, Susan, and Wonder Woman hiding behind a computer screen, asking me, why am I asking that? Oh, are you really a woman? Yeah, I'm all woman. Ask the last fella, he'll tell you. And the fella before that, if you get my drift. You all are very petty. Because we're talking about people who have decided to put their business on Front Street. And we also talking about people who business will be on Front Street because of the people that they're related to, such as this case with Mr. Murdaugh. And let's be truthful. If it wasn't for the fact that this man murdered his wife and son, this case of Stephen Smith probably would be on the back burner. The only people that would be tooting the horn trying to get some information out to the public would be his relatives. And as we have learned with true crime, there are many people that hold the secret to dirty dealings, dirty deeds. And I got a feeling somebody knows something about Mr. Smith. And their last name possibly starts with the letter M. So if you can get offended by me asking if Mr. Buster Murdaugh is gay, well, my. Why aren't you offended that Stephen Smith, which all this stuff is stirred up around, that he was gay, openly gay? And I found that interesting. You're offended by the question about Buster being gay, but you ain't offended that classmate and somebody he may have had some type of dealings with was gay. I'm confused. Once again, this is my network. I run it as I see fit. I ask any question I want to ask. And since you're so offended, Miss Churchwell and Miss Wonder Woman, let's see what Inside Edition has to say about this commentary, since Angela's the only one in the universe that's asked the question. My. Before I get to Inside Edition, let's take it to Law and Crime. Thank you all for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $sign McAngie 129 Cash App, students and chat to welcome during the live stream. You're listening to the Vault XL.
I never had anything to do with his murder, and I never had anything to do with him on a physical level of any regard.
Buster Murdaugh, speaking for the first time publicly in a Fox Nation documentary, denying any involvement in the death of his high school classmate, Stephen Smith. So what else did he say? Thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime. I'm Anjanette Levy. The only time the general public has heard from Buster Murdaugh was when he testified at the double murder trial of his father, Alec Murdaugh, earlier this year. Now, Murdaugh has granted an exclusive sit-down interview to Martha McCallum for a Fox Nation documentary, The Fall of the House of Murdaugh. Earlier this year, Buster Murdaugh issued a statement vehemently denying any involvement in Smith's death. This came after he felt podcasts and documentaries had cast him as a suspect in Smith's death, and after Smith's mother raised money to exhume her son's body so a second autopsy could be performed. For those not familiar with the case, Stephen Smith was an openly gay teenager whose body was found in the middle of a road in Hampton County in July of 2015. Smith's car was found a couple of miles away with the gas cap off. The first autopsy determined Smith died as a result of a hit and run, but the manner was listed as undetermined. Records related to the investigation showed the Murdaugh name came up several times throughout the course of the investigation as the small town rumor mill churned. Documentaries played recordings of state troopers interviewing people who claimed to have heard rumors about Stephen Smith and Buster Murdaugh. Now Murdaugh is answering questions about the allegations for the first time.
His sister said someone approached her and said that you and Stephen were romantically involved. His brother says that someone approached him and says that you were with a group of young men who beat him with a baseball bat. What do you say to that? To
Again,
both of those?
Absolutely baseless rumors. I unequivocally deny anything that you just read off of that piece of paper. I did not have any personal, intimate relations with Stephen, and that obviously cannot be proven because it is baseless. I never had anything to do with his murder, and I never had anything to do with him on a physical level of any regard.
No one has ever been charged in Stephen Smith's death, and the results of the second autopsy conducted after Smith's remains were exhumed earlier this year have not been released. However, the attorney representing Smith's mother told Law and Crime that a state grand jury is investigating his death. Martha McCallum asked Murdaugh where he was the night Stephen Smith died.
Where were you the night that Stephen Smith was killed?
The night Stephen was killed, I was at our Edisto Beach house.
With your family?
With my mom and my brother.
Two witnesses who can vouch for Buster Murdaugh's whereabouts that night, his mother Maggie and younger brother Paul, are dead. They were murdered on June 7th, 2021, His father, Alec Murdaugh, is serving 2 life sentences for the murders, but plans to appeal. So what has it been like for Buster Murdaugh, as some people have suggested he murdered Stephen Smith?
What did you feel like when you heard that this thing was surfacing again?
Well, it's a lot like this, and you know, I don't want to be rude here, but have you ever been accused of murdering somebody? Well, let me tell you this, it is very, 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 it's a terrible thing to place on somebody with absolutely no fact. I mean, it has harmed my reputation. I mean, people perceive me as a murderer.
This is the second time Buster Murdaugh has said his reputation has been harmed by what he calls lies. Whether he plans to take any legal action isn't clear, but he called the allegations that he was involved in Smith's death defamatory earlier this year. The Fall of the House of Murdaugh premieres on Fox Nation on August 31st. For law,
Buster Murdaugh, his own words. Good afternoon, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. This is a roundtable discussion of various news and breaking news and topics during this live stream. Happy Friday to everybody. The one thing I've always learned about a liar is the wording in the commentary. And I'm not going to say that he's lying about what he said to this news agent, but it goes kind of like this. And we've seen this in many cases for those who actually follow true crime and listen to what the people have to say who are alleged suspects in a case. The one thing I've learned that has been said is this: you can't prove anything. They don't have anything. That's not something an innocent person would say. Let me say it again. They can't prove anything. They don't got nothing. Well, Mr. Murdaugh, your wording is typical of people who usually are involved in a murder or accessory or co-conspirator, conspirator. I listened without trying to judge him during this commentary. And what stuck out is they don't have anything to prove we had something going on. I killed him. They don't have nothing to prove because it's baseless. Wouldn't you just say the allegations against me are baseless? I knew of him in school, saw him in school, saw him around town, but other than that, I do not know him personally. So let's ask the obvious question. Why are more than one person saying you had something going on personally with him? Number one. Number two, that you and your friends beat him with a bat. The fact that his body had to be exhumed to get a new determination that he didn't get hit by a car. And as I was listening to commentary the other day pertaining to this case of Mr. Smith, his clothes don't exemplify a person who was hit by a car, such as a hit and run. You'd be flipped up, dragged, depending on the make of the car, how fast the car was going. Let me say it again. His clothes don't exemplify a hit and run. And you will see pictures of his clothes during the news broadcast to show something ain't right here. And the way they described him lying in the road was as if he lied down in the road himself and died naturally, or he was already dead when he was put in the road. So Mr. Murdaugh's name has come up for a reason. Now, let's go to speculation and gossip. To the two hens who are so disgusted by the queen asking if Buster is gay. Never heard of such. We're talking about a dead kid here. You ain't worried about the dead kid being gay, but you're worried about Buster, a complete stranger you don't know shit about. You don't know him from a can of paint. And more than likely, if you lived in this South Carolina town, they would walk right over your ass as if you don't even exist, which they probably did to many of the pilgrims that lived in this South Carolina town. Small town people gossip. That's what they do. That's what they're made of, because they don't have nothing to do. They're not movers and shakers like many people are in bustling demographics such as New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, LA, Miami, Atlanta, Charlotte. They thrive on misery. They thrive on what Peter did, Paul did, Bubba did, who bought a new tractor, who's building on a new deck. This is what small town people do. People with money, upper crust, they don't worry about the new Mercedes-Benz in the driveway. Stay woke. Because I've heard people say that lived in Atlanta. They said, what you all do in Tennessee, we don't do here. You all are so worried about how Peter, Paul, Dick got this and that. We ain't worried about that because we got bills to pay down here. We don't thrive on all that he said, she said. And that's the point of this story. People talk, people lie. And we've seen many stories where homosexual men have lied on other men, saying that they've been with them. Yeah, I'm going to go deep in the belly of the beast. Since somebody decided to bring that demon out of me today, I'm going to give you what you want. Many gay men have fancied other men. And because they couldn't get with the man, they would make up stuff about him. Because I've seen it 1,000 times. We've heard 1,000 times here in this locale where I live, which is very small. He gay, he gay, he gay. Well, who's going to tell it but either one or the other? Or somebody that caught the two. Listen very carefully now. Who knows better than the person who was in the room with their britches down? So we go to this Murdaugh business and Mr. Smith. Two people talking about a gay relationship, beating a boy with a bat. That would allude to the fact that somebody saw something. And what if I told you about true crime? There is always a witness, usually. And if it ain't a witness, somebody told somebody. So we're going to run it like this. Buster messed with the boy or he didn't. The boy liked him. Buster didn't like him. Buster tried it, mad at himself, felt some type of way. The little boy went a-squealing. You ain't going to believe what I did with Buster Murdaugh. Oh, shit. Now Buster didn't heard it. Now, Buster's got a problem. Buster can't be seen as a bisexual man. He comes from a prominent family. I got to get a hold of Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, ding, 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 ring, ring, ring. Let me holler at you. What you doing tonight? Oh, me and some nothing. Oh, well, me and some friends getting together. We're going to have a few drinks over here at Bubba's house. You see where I'm going with this. Now, the reindeer games begin. Ring, ring, ring. Yeah, he's meeting us over here at Bubba's house. Bring the brigade. So now we got a bunch of people getting ready to do something to a boy. And let me tell you something that I noticed in the photographs of the pants he was wearing, the shorts. I hope everybody's listening. The black shirt did not look like it was torn, ripped, shredded. Number one. Number two, the shorts, khaki color. The shorts are flipped over to where it would be the buttocks are facing forward in the photograph. There's one stain that the queen noticed on the back of the breeches. Hello, Chris Thorns, thank you. There was a stain on the buttocks where the crack of your rear would be. Come on with it, queen, they ain't ready. I'll let you do the rest. See, I'm not your average YouTuber. I pays attention. I don't have nothing invested in the Murdaugh family. I don't have nothing invested in the fucking state of South Carolina. But what I do know is when you start getting chitter chatter about a dead person, you might want to pay attention. And the reason why possibly, just like this bullshit with Crystal Rogers in Kentucky, the reason why this case stayed on the back burner is because we're talking about old white money. Let me say it again. Old white Southern money. You don't know what these white folks been doing over there in South Carolina. You don't know what they've been doing to them folks over there in that town. You don't know how corrupt they've been. And we have learned that sins of the mother are passed down through generations. So we got a crooked ass father, drug addict ass father, a damn murderer, and then you want me to sit up here and say his son couldn't possibly be gay or bisexual? Let me tell you something. I don't really give a damn if he is bisexual or gay. But did you kill that boy, or you know something about Stephen Smith's death? That's what I'm talking about. And when you start getting chitter chatter, that means you've left possibly some breadcrumbs, or it's just gossip. Take your pick. And all this death surrounding the Murdaugh family is strange. Dead maid, dead mama, dead brother, now a dead gay boy. But this is all circumstantial. Let me tell you something about old white money. It reigns supreme in the South. It always has, it always will. Now we're in a newer time where some of that old money done been spent, but the name still may have a little prestige to it for those who actually give a damn. And how we navigate here in the South, some of us, you don't navigate in other jurisdictions, okay? Keep trying to tell folks this. Same jacked up ways, of course. Sociopaths, psychopaths, sadists, rapists, liars, thieves. That's everywhere. But the South is a different breed. And when you come from money and you come from a family that has a name, a reputation, people want to uphold that name. So they will do whatever they need to do to sustain the name. And I think that's possibly what has happened with the Murdaugh name. Everybody's trying to sustain the name, but bones have decided to slide under the cracks of the door. Because see, God can't let certain things remain quiet. That's universal. That what is done in the dark will surely come to light. And I believe that is what has happened with Mr. Murdaugh and all of his dealings and wranglings and fraud and theft and murder and all these bodies popping up like they just coming out of coffins. You know, it's like a bad thriller video. And what you have to ask yourself, if Mr. Murdaugh had gotten away with murdering his wife and son, who else would have popped up dead? You better stay woke. As I said, I don't give a damn about some young boys being bisexual or gay. That is their preference. We're talking about dead people here. So when we're talking about death, unexplained deaths, undetermined deaths on autopsy reports, you could ask any damn question you want to ask. Because that's the police's job, the detective's job, the state police and the FBI's job. They don't give a damn about you being gay or bisexual. They don't give a damn about nobody having no fling, trying sex with a man for the first time. They're trying to get down to business. How did this boy end up in the middle of this damn road? That's the point of the story. And as I said, when you ask a person a direct question, where were you on the night of this? Don't you find it strange? He was with two people who are no longer alive to testify to say, oh yes, Buster was here with us last night. Let me say it again. What are the odds that the two people that he has used as an alibi, drum roll, they ain't here? Come on with it, Quay. Now, this could all just be happenstance. You entitled to your interpretation. What I'm trying to tell you is you have to pay attention to the information. You see, I don't go in assuming anything about nobody. I don't give a damn if they're white, black, Indian, blue, green, Muslim, tall, short, fat, gay, bisexual, transsexual. That's not what I'm concerned about. What I'm trying to get to the point of, why is this person deceased? Who were they with? How were they living? That's the point of the story. And it is sad to say that how you live can get you dead. You like creeping around with men and you a man, it can get you dead. You like selling yourself for sex, it can get you dead. You got creepy, oddball fetishes, it can get you dead. You like talking about people, gossiping about people, stirring up shit, it can get you dead. That's the gist of the story. Who's to say this boy wasn't out here talking bad about Buster? Because we all want to tell somebody something. Girl, you won't believe it. Girl, he came over to my house. Girl, we had dinner. Girl, yeah. Woo, we made out. Girl, uh-huh. And then she goes back and tell what you just said. Now, everybody's talking about you having a fling with this guy, and maybe he didn't want nobody to know he slept with you. Or same thing with a guy going around telling who he slept with. Now everybody talking about what these two did and who did what and who foot was in the air. You see where I'm going with this story? Now somebody's in the damn feelings. Now somebody's angry as hell, and now somebody's confronting somebody. Who's to say it didn't go kind of like that? Buster did mess around with this boy, or was messing around with him, and the cat got out of the bag. He told somebody. This is how we find out who is gay and bisexual, because somebody told it. And people started talking. Because Stephen told somebody. Let's say hypothetically. He told a friend, a sister, somebody. And then they went and told it. And who's to say that somebody didn't see the two together somewhere where they thought they were alone, secretive? Because there's no such thing as a secret. Let me make that clear. There's no such thing as a secret. It's only a matter of who is going to tell it and who is going to deny or confirm. But there are no secrets. And when you have a rumor that Buster and Stephen have done something together intimately, he's also accused of beating a boy with a damn bat with his friends. That's a far-ass stretch between the two. How you go from being gay to beating somebody up? And now a normal person is supposed to just say, well, I don't believe that, and those are just rumors. Think about what you're saying now. So this is why I always bring both sides of the coin and ask yourself the obvious question. Why would somebody put Buster and Stephen together in the same sentence? I'll wait. And why would somebody put the two in the same sentence as far as murder? Because the two are definitely separate. Or are they evenly yoked? So what could start out as a rumor could have led to the boy's death. Let's say it was nothing between the two. He liked Buster, but Buster didn't like him. Maybe he went and made up something about Buster. Buster wanted revenge, him and his friends. You see where I'm going with this? It could have played out either way, or Buster was doing something with him, and Stephen had a big mouth. And I have seen this with a lot of gay, bisexual men. They like to talk. I haven't met one that didn't like to talk. And God forbid you give him some liquor, it's on like Donkey Kong. Now we testifying to all kind of shenanigans. Stuff that you know you ain't supposed to be repeating about folks' business. And the one thing I've learned about men who most of us assume were heterosexual, we didn't learn that they were on the down low until somebody gay told their business. But once again, it's up to your interpretation if you believe it or not. You believe it or you don't. It is your choice. Because like I said, I could care less. The only thing I have a problem with down low bisexual men is if you are leading a lie in life and making people believe that you are strictly liking women, but you're not. That's where there would be a problem for me. Because that's not fair to a woman to think she's with a straight man and he is not. Other than that, you live how you want to live. So for the two little messy hens commenting on my community page, get over it. I talk about what I want. I give my opinion. And that's the bottom line. This is my playhouse. I run this. You want to go support Buster Murdaugh? Please knock yourself out. You're entitled to like whomever you want to like. But I find it awfully strange you all had nothing to say about Mr. Smith being gay. You're more concerned about Buster. Who the fuck is Buster to you? Nobody. And basically your commentary is letting me know you don't care anything about Stephen Smith's death. You ain't worried about him being gay or feminine because he was deemed a nobody. That's possibly the reason why he's dead. How about that? He was just some old poor white trash that was gay, feminine. Who gives a fuck? So maybe you ought to think before commenting. Because perhaps you're rooting for the wrong person. We're all sinners. Let me make that clear. Nobody's exempt from sin. But nobody should have to die because of a sin or an alleged flaw. However you want to view a person's lifestyle. We all have the right to be redeemed, change, stand atone for what we've done wrong. And it will be sad to find out that this boy died because he was gay, or he died because he went and told something about what he did with Buster or whomever, or he made up something about Buster. I don't know. But I'm only going by Mr. Buster's commentary now. There's something off. Because whenever a person says they can't prove, that's not a good sign. That's a red flag to me. Because that's not something an innocent person is going to say. You haven't done anything, so those words should never even be spoken on your tongue. Just say, I don't know him personally. So I would have never been in a relationship because I didn't know him to have a relationship with him. And most people would start the conversation off with, let me say this for the record. First of all, I'm a heterosexual. So nothing could have happened with Buster anyway. Because one, I ain't gay and I ain't bisexual. How about that? And when he says very, 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 that's what you say when you're fishing for the appropriate word to spin the story, which you shouldn't have to spin what is the truth. See, I listen. Maybe somebody in the back seat needs to rehear Buster's commentary. Since everybody's team Buster.
I never had anything to do with his murder, and I never had anything to do with him on a physical level of any regard.
Buster Murdaugh, speaking for the first time publicly in a Fox Nation documentary, denying any involvement in the death of his high school classmate, Stephen Smith. So what else did he say? Thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime. I'm Anjanette Levy. The only time the general public has heard from Buster Murdaugh was when he testified at the double murder trial of his father, Alec Murdaugh, earlier this year. Now, Murdaugh has granted an exclusive sit-down interview to Martha McCallum for a Fox Nation documentary, The Fall of the House of Murdaugh. Earlier this year, Buster Murdaugh issued a statement vehemently denying any involvement in Smith's death. This came after he felt podcasts and documentaries had cast him as a suspect in Smith's death, and after Smith's mother raised money to exhume her son's body so a second autopsy could be performed. For those not familiar with the case, Stephen Smith was an openly gay teenager whose body was found in the middle of a road in Hampton County in July of 2015. Smith's car was found a couple of miles away with the gas cap off. The first autopsy determined Smith died as a result of a hit and run, but the manner was listed as undetermined. Records related to the investigation showed the Murdaugh name came up several times throughout the course of the investigation as the small
car miles away from the body, gas top off, cap off. Ask yourself the obvious question: if this was early morning or nighttime, when you're walking on a road that does not have sidewalks, which most people know who live here in the South, we do not have sidewalks in the county on basic roadways and highways. You know damn well Stephen would not be walking in the middle of the road. Checkmate. If a car or truck came along and hit him, he possibly would have been thrown to the side of the road into the grass, or opposite side of the road, depending on how fast the vehicle was going. And it would have shown some trauma to the body and also to the clothes, which you did not see in the photographs of Mr. Smith's clothing. I believe Mr. Smith was placed in that road. He was murdered elsewhere and discarded there, and they took his car and they moved his car. Who are they? Or him?
As the small town rumor mill churned. Documentaries played recordings of state troopers interviewing people who claimed to have heard rumors about Stephen Smith and Buster Murdaugh. Now Murdaugh is answering questions about the allegations for the first time.
His sister said someone approached her and said that you and Stephen were romantically involved. His brother says that someone...
Now Murdaugh is answering questions about the allegations for the first time.
His sister said someone approached her and said that you and Stephen were romantically involved.
Why would somebody approach the dead man's sister implicating Mr. Buster and Stephen? I'll wait. Just rumors? And if they're rumors, who started them? And why would somebody say these two were in a relationship or had a fling? Number one.
His brother says that someone approached him and says that you were with a group of young men who beat him with a baseball bat.
His brother was approached to say that Buster and friends beat the man to death. So we have a sister getting rumors that her brother and Buster were together intimately, and then the brother is approached about a murder with the same person. So what are the odds that the sister gets confronted? Let's say this is true. The sister was confronted that her own brother messed with Buster. Then their brother gets confronted that Buster and some friends killed Mr. Smith. Why are people confronting the brother and the sister with rumors of a romantic fling, sexual activity, and murder? Why those two?
With a group of young men who beat him with a baseball bat. What do you say to that? To both of those?
Absolutely baseless rumors. I unequivocally deny anything that you just read off of that piece of paper. I did not have any personal, intimate relations with Stephen, and that obviously cannot be proven because it is baseless.
Cannot be proven because they're baseless. They cannot be proven. They cannot be proven because they're baseless. Would I say that in being accused of murdering somebody? It cannot be proven. I don't think I would say that. I think I would say I did not kill him. I don't know him. First, I'm not gay. Two, I don't know Stephen Smith. Stay woke. And he looks down while she's asking him a question. And a lot of times we all don't give eye contact when we're talking to people or when they're saying things to us. Does not mean that you're guilty, of course, because there's lots of times people talk to me, I don't give them eye contact. But then we also know that sometimes when people lie or being deceptive, they do not give eye contact and they stir off in space and stir down and they stutter and they use things such as this. Very, 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 very kind of the way a child would talk in describing a story where they know they did put their hand in the cookie jar.
It cannot be proven because it is baseless. I never had anything to do with his murder, and I never had anything to do with him on a physical level of any regard.
No one has ever been charged in Stephen Smith's death, and the results of the second autopsy conducted after Smith's remains were exhumed earlier this year have not been released. However, the attorney representing Smith's mother told Law and Crime that a state grand jury is investigating his death. Martha McCallum asked Murdaugh where he was the night Stephen Smith died.
Where were you the night that Stephen Smith was killed?
The night Stephen was killed, I was at our Edisto Beach house.
With your family?
With my mom and my brother.
Two witnesses who can vouch for Buster Murdaugh's whereabouts that night, his mother Maggie and younger brother Paul, are dead. They were murdered on June 7th, 2021. His father, Alec Murdaugh, is serving 2 life sentences for the murders, but plans to appeal. So what has it been like for Buster Murdaugh, as some people have suggested he murdered Stephen Smith?
What did you feel like when you heard that this thing was surfacing again?
Well, it's a lot like this, and you know, I don't want to be rude here, but have you ever been accused of murdering somebody? Well, let me tell you this, it is very, 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 it's a terrible thing.
Very, 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 very terrible thing. Terry says he's lying. Well, I hope for his sake, he didn't murder Stephen Smith. Whether he had a relationship with him or not, could be just small town rumors. But we have learned that certain deviances can lead to murder. Certain acts can lead to murder. A rumor can lead to a murder because a person feels victimized, vilified, and they want to maintain their image. I do not know what happened between the two. I do not know if this man has anything to do with his murder, if any of his acquaintances murdered this young man, but I'm going by the evidence. And I do not believe that young man was hit by a car. I believe his body was placed there. And I also believe somebody's moved his vehicle, and that would require help because it was a barren road. And that means in order to move cars around from place to place, you yourself would have to be able to get from point A to point B, which requires somebody picking you up and or following you. Say, whoa.
This is very, 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 it's a terrible thing to place on somebody with absolutely no fact. I mean, it has harmed my reputation. I mean, people perceive me as a murderer.
This is the second time Buster Murdaugh has said his reputation has been harmed by what he calls lies. Whether he plans to take any legal action isn't clear, but he called the allegations that he was involved in Smith's death defamatory earlier this year. The Fall of the House of Murdaugh premieres on Fox Nation on August 31st.
Well, let's check it out. August 31st has passed. Fox, let's check it out. See what we can learn from this documentary. And also, The story itself. Thank you all for joining me. And Netflix has a new docuseries pertaining to this Mr. Buster. Uploaded September 20th. Let's see what they have to say.
Alex called me. She said, "Can you run over this way a minute?" I said, "Man, what for?" He said, "Things just got all up. Just like that."
Paul's brain has been blown out of his body. Maggie has been shot multiple times. It opened up a whole Pandora's box of questions.
Folks are going to have their own opinion. Mine is not an opinion. I lived it. I was there.
This case is about the digital footprint that we all have.
Well, then what is it? The rumor mill in Hampton County is that it involved cartels.
Drugs, they're all over the place.
Miss Maggie was a scared person. She had to have been called down there for a reason.
There's another person, and maybe even more.
There was the Cousin Eddie theory. May have had a motive to kill the family.
What happened?
There was absolutely nobody who told them what was happening that they wouldn't have locked me up in the insane asylum.
She said if something happens to Randolph, Alec's going to lose it.
His story kept changing. He says he wasn't there, and we know he was there.
So does that mean that I am a suspect?
He said, I got a bad feeling.
Was not there 30 to 40 minutes.
I just didn't want Mr. Alex's face to be the last thing that Paul saw.
I've worked a lot of bad stuff. I've never seen it done that way.
I've never felt more pressure in my life to get a case right.
I think he blames us all for his downfall.
The Murdaugh murders. Netflix. Blame who for what? The choices Mr. Murdaugh made were his own. That's it. So they've got a first season, second season. If you like to check out the content. Alex Murdaugh's only living son, Richard Alex Buster Murdaugh, 26, has been leading a relatively quiet life amid his family scandal, aside from a few public statements. So you probably still have questions about him. Buster was present in the courtroom during his father's trial in an interview with Fox News last month, which I played you a little bit during this live stream. Buster maintained his belief that his father was innocent. I do not think that he could be affiliated with endangering my mother and brother, Buster told Fox in the Fall of the House of Murdaugh series, which premiered August 31st. I think I hold a very unique perspective that nobody in that courtroom ever held. The eldest Murdaugh son went on to say he believed the jurors for his father's case were able to reach a guilty verdict in less than 3 hours because of everything available to read about his father prior to the trial. This appearance is the first and only time he's spoken publicly about his father's trial. I do not think his out of whatever storm he concocted was to kill my mother and brother, Buster said later in the documentary per the New York Post. In 2015, Stephen Smith, Buster's high school classmate, was found dead on the side of the road about 15 miles from one of the Murdaugh family's properties in South Carolina. The incident was initially deemed a hit and run, but the case has since been reopened as a homicide investigation. The reports from the initial accident show no vehicle debris, skid marks, or injuries consistent with someone being struck by a vehicle. The South Carolina Highway Patrol investigators' case file on Smith's death, also obtained by CNN, mentions the Murdaugh name dozens of times by both witnesses and investigators, including the name of Alex Murdaugh's surviving son, Buster. No charges were ever brought forward in the case, and the authorities never named any suspects. CBS reported Buster has denied any connection. Smith's family is in favor of the new investigation and is petitioning to have his body exhumed. They even started a GoFundMe that has raised $88,000 to provide a new unbiased look at his body and an accurate determination of his cause of death based on facts. I've tried my best to ignore the vicious rumors about my involvement in Stephen Smith's tragic death that continue to be published in the media as I grieve over the brutal murders of my mother and brother, Buster said. I love them so much and missed them terribly. The statement continued, these baseless rumors of my involvement with Stephen and his death are false. I unequivocally deny any involvement in his death, and my heart goes out to the Smith family. In the week following Alex Murdaugh's conviction, Buster Murdaugh filed a police report. On March 4, 2023, the New York Post included a photo of Buster inside his home in Hilton Head, South Carolina, in one of its stories. This led to Buster making a police report with local authorities, WYFF4. Buster's report included a description of a suspicious gray Dodge Challenger outside the residence, which he saw in the footage from his doorbell camera. Later, Buster Murdaugh's girlfriend, Brooklyn White, I was waiting for that. So he has a girlfriend. Or does he still have a girlfriend? Anyway, also called into the sheriff's office to report that the couple was being followed by the media in a gray Chevy SUV. A deputy in the area reportedly pulled the vehicle over for speeding and improper lane change and issued a warning, according to the report, WYFF4. Buster was present in the courtroom when Alex Murdaugh was given double life sentence for the murders of Maggie and Paul. Buster's reaction in court was minimal for both his father's guilty verdict and sentencing. After the jury distributed their guilty verdict, Alex Murdaugh reportedly mouthed "it's okay" to his 26-year-old son, per The Independent. Morgan Francis, an anchor for Windy City News, obtained a video of Buster leaving the courthouse after his father's sentencing, looking stoic, which he posted on Twitter. Buster has been present throughout the entirety of the father's trial. He was reportedly very emotional during his father's testimony in court last week, Law and Crime. Let me say this pertaining to Buster and this nonsense. The fact that you believe your father didn't kill your mother and brother is ridiculous. Your father left a blueprint. You finally found out, if you didn't already know, that your father is a drug addict, has committed major fraud along with a co-conspirator who has also been sentenced, and still you would say he didn't murder your brother and your mother. See, this is why I said the sins of the father is real. It's in the scripture. Is Buster a product of Mr. Murdaugh? Has he passed his evil ways down to the very core of his son, to where the son is also a murderer of another young man? And it would not surprise me at all if he is just like Mr. Alex. So in this article, it goes on to tell you where he went to school. He graduated from Wofford in 2018, majored in government international affairs, planning to work in South Carolina law firm before heading back to law school. And trying to follow the tradition of his family, he was pursuing a law degree at the University of South Carolina. However, he was kicked out of law school over a plagiarism incident, according to the Wall Street Journal. A local outlet, the Post and Courier, then reported that the family had paid a well-connected Columbia lawyer, Butch Bowers, some $60,000 to help secure Buster's readmittance. Very interesting now. Once again, high dollar money to get someone out of trouble that they got themselves in. However, Buster still hasn't gone back to school. He has put his desire to go to law school on hold for now. The Murdaugh's lawyer told the Post and Courier there is no plan for him to start school in the fall or in the spring. It's unclear what Buster currently does for a living. I was wondering that as well. But he worked at his father's law firm prior to Alex's arrest, according to People. A former Wofford classmate told People that Buster was not doing well at all. He really withdrew after everything that happened. Before he texted immediately, his phone was surgically implanted in his hand or something. Like you send a text 24/7 and he respond, and he loved to chat. Now he doesn't respond to most texts, or if he does, it's one or two words. He has really closed off and built walls around himself, the friend added. At the time, Buster hadn't told friends what he thought of his dad's guilt or innocence. Buster reportedly refused to go back and live at the hunting lodge where his brother and mother were killed. He reportedly resides in a condo with his girlfriend, Brooklyn White, on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. Brooklyn works as an attorney at Elevating McCray and Withdrawal law firm. According to the website, Brooklyn purchased the condo 2021, a month after the Murdaugh murders, according to Fox. Now, the next information is about him testifying, at the father's trial. He also claims that his father was destroyed the night of the murders. He was heartbroken, blah, blah, blah. You see all that in the court proceedings. Mr. Alex crying, which means absolutely nothing. It's just going back to everything that happened. And let's see. Then it brings up the issue of the boat crash. Since Paul Murdaugh's involvement in a fatal boat crash that killed Mallory Beach in 2019, the Beach family has been in negotiations with the Murdaugh family. They recently reached a settlement for a significant amount of money, which removed Buster and Maggie's names from the case, per the Daily Mail. And yes, I forgot to mention that. That was that incident too, about the boat crash that killed a girl. Paul Murdaugh, who was 19 at the time, was reportedly drunk while operating the boat. He was later charged for his role in Mallory's death and was out on bail when he died. Paul allegedly purchased alcohol on the day of the collision with Buster Murdaugh's ID and his mother's credit card. After the settlement, only Alex Murdaugh's name will appear on the Mallory Beach lawsuit, per Fox News. Very interesting. The Beach family feels very strongly that whatever their faults were, Paul and Maggie didn't deserve what happened to them. They also feel Buster has suffered enough, so it was important to them to try and get him out of the case, the Beach family attorney Mark Brandon Tinsley reportedly told Fox News. Okay. And then he goes on to talk about Buster being close to another person who's now dead, and that is Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith mysteriously died on the side of the road, 10 miles from the Murdaugh's house. He was found with deep gashes to his head on a Hampton County road. Buster and Smith were former classmates. Some locals interviewed in the docuseries alleged that Murdaugh's might have been involved with his hit-and-run death, per the Wall Street Journal. Also recently told the New York Post that she did understand the Murdaugh family's interest in the case from the beginning, and we also heard that too. She said that shortly after the crime happened and before it was confirmed that it was Stephen who had been killed, Randy Murdaugh even called her husband to offer help in looking into the case. She also reported that when she visited the crime scene, the Murdaugh family was already there. So why were these people immersing themselves in this case of a dead young man, Mr. Smith? I don't know if they did it or not. I don't care. I just want to know who, and I want to know why, she said to the New York Post. It's very interesting. This is Miss Smith. Smith's death is still under investigation, and the Murdaugh family has not been officially linked, per the New York Times. As far as assets, the condo Buster in Brooklyn live in, which she purchased in 2021, is worth $180,000. Alex Murdaugh sold the family estate, Moselle, to Maggie for $5 in 2016. Lawyers who are now in charge of Alex's assets are trying to void the sale, claiming it was fraudulent. The property is worth a few $1 million, which I already said that to myself today before going live. He could have easily liquidated the estate if he was in the red of owing somebody money, companies, creditors, drug dealers, I don't know. And now you hear that the estate was worth a couple of million. But any sale has been blocked because of the scuffle over its ownership. If the property is sold, Buster will reportedly receive $530,000. Earlier this year, the house's contents were auctioned off to clear out the estate, per CNN. If you want more information pertaining to this debacle, Murdaugh Murders, a Southern Scandal, is now playing on Netflix. Thank you so much for following this network. So we are talking about now another death. Each son linked to a dead person. I'll let you sit on that for just a second. One son linked to a dead girl on a boat where he was drunk, using Buster's ID and the mother's credit card. See, aiding. Mom dead now, son dead. Father drug addict, defrauder. A maid allegedly dead. Stephen Smith dead. Rumors of Buster having some type of romantic something with him. This is not I don't think this is circumstantial at this point. I think these people were self-entitled, self-absorbed. They felt like their shit didn't stink, and they got into whatever mischief they could get in, and it was a generational situation. And I'm sure if we go back in the book of life, we will find other nefarious dealings dealing with Mr. Murdaugh's own parents, father, uncles, granddaddies. It goes back. And you teach children these ways to be self-absorbed, self-entitled. And I believe this is generational. This is a generational curse. And sadly, this young man is the last of the Mohicans, and he doesn't have a job. He doesn't work. He doesn't have a degree. What is he going to do? Because at some point, this girl is going to tire of footing the bill and paying all the bills and buying this and buying that. It's not going to work. And that's the worst type of situation you can have, is a woman footing the bill for a grown-ass man. And as I've said before, most people who fall out of college, quit college, it is hard to get your momentum back. That's why it's best to graduate from high school and finish college or get your master's, PhD, whatever. You have to keep going, because once you become lax and fall off, it's hard to get your momentum back, get your drive back. And I get it. Young people get burned out. But if you stop, you'll probably end up getting mixed up, fall off the track, and God forbid you get yourself wrapped up in some nasty dealings, breaking the law, because this is what happens when you stop going to school. You become lax. Your mind becomes lax. This is how you get yourself wrapped up. And this is just as crazy as the story of the guy in Knoxville who killed his parents. He was a man almost 30 years old, living down in Louisiana, living off his parents' money. They were tired of footing the bill. They finally told him that they were not going to give him any more money. Next thing you know, he comes home Thanksgiving break. He murders his family, chops these people up. Do you see what I'm saying? You cannot continue to aid your children. This is why I posted that commentary on my community page about taking care of grown adults. No one thinks their kid is going to murder them. I don't know if this guy showed any signs of wanting to kill his family. But the point is, he did. This is why you cannot aid grown people. At some point, we have to learn to be self-sufficient, whether we are taught or not. And as you see right now, this family is probably going to be sued by different entities. The estate will probably be wrangled up in the courts until everybody's paid off their debts. And Buster probably won't get a damn thing just because of the sins of his father, defrauding others. And perhaps sued by the Smith family or any other entities. And if he murdered Stephen Smith, he doesn't deserve to have any wealth anyway. That's my commentary. I saw something in the queue that's very crazy to me, because I've spent too much time talking about the Murdaughs, one whole hour. Please forgive me. We'll jump off that subject. This was something I saw that's just crazy to me. And I was just like, what is going on? Just to show you how crazy this world is. People are losing their minds. This is the reason why many people do not need to have children. Period. Period. Rust Creek is my movie suggestion for the weekend. A very good movie I watched last night. It's about a young girl who goes on a trip for a job interview and gets lost in the Kentucky wilderness. And she's being hunted by two nasty heathens and taken in by a young man. And I will not tell you the rest of the story. It is free in the YouTube queue. Rust Creek is my weekend suggestion. Very good movie. Here are the polls for today. Did husband murder Suzanne Morphew or someone else? Husband, 93%. Stranger, 3%. Knows her, 4%. Should the double jeopardy law be removed if later on evidence shows a person committed a murders? 89% of you said yes, 11% of you said no. And obviously, some people are so offended by this question of me asking about Buster Murdaugh. The reason why I was on the Buster Murdaugh rant today. Is Buster Murdaugh gay? 53% says yes, 17% says no, not sure, 29%, 92 votes. And here are our comments. Ed Wonder 41 had asked, why does that matter? It's like us asking you if you're really a woman, and you should know, Queen would reply. And I said, I can ask any damn question I want about a case. Why are you people so damn offended? You don't seem concerned that the victim may have been gay. Why is that? Oh, yeah, he wasn't important. My channel, my content, my commentary. And then I replied again, all woman, little girl. And then here comes 5350 replying, I agree with you. It doesn't matter if someone is gay, Stephen or Buster. Queen, why are you so harsh to everyone that doesn't agree with you? Your channel may actually start growing if you stop blocking people with different opinions. Well, 5350, why would you feel the need to keep changing your profile to comment? Ask yourself that. Why would you keep going into Google to change your profile to comment? I'll block whoever I want to block on here. I ask any question I want about a storyline. That's what you're supposed to do. Fox News didn't have a problem with asking Buster about having a relationship with Stephen. But Angela can't ask the question on her own channel. Let me understand that. And then you're worrying about me blocking you. Hell yeah, I'll block you. Because you're trying to run my channel. This is why I keep trying to tell you that most of you all are hypocrites. You come over here to somebody's channel and comment about what they shouldn't say and what they shouldn't ask, but you're not sitting over here stalking this damn white lady over here at Fox about asking Buster, did he kill Stephen Smith? Did he have a relationship? Why are these people spinning these rumors about you? Are you over there stalking her and bothering her? Are you changing your fucking profile every 5 seconds so you can comment on Fox? You people are hypocrites. You're fine with a content creator so long as they're bringing information and giving commentary that you agree with. So it's no different than me blocking you. How's it different? Oh, I don't like what she said, so let me comment and act like a psychotic person. I'm not going to sit here and let you fill up a comment box full of nasty remarks because I asked if a person was gay. Or you don't like a comment I made about a person that you don't know anything about. You don't know from a can of beans. You get so upset, but then you tell me my channel would grow if I didn't block people. Well, you all would unsubscribe the first time you hear a comment of something you don't like, whether I leave the comment on the page or not. So what you're saying doesn't make any sense. I can leave your nasty comments up, never take them down. That still won't make you watch my channel, hit the like button, and stay a subscriber. And I'm not going to build a network where I have to change my thought process because somebody don't like my comment or don't like a poll. You people unsubscribe because you want a dodo bird. You want somebody to think like you, walk like you. Well, I'm not a duck. I think the way I want to think. And as I've said before during the live streams, I'm entitled to change my mind at any given point. I judge a story according to the information that's given, not a commenter, not Fox News, not ABC, not CBS. And a lot of times you're not getting the full gist of a story because a story is based on a version. The version that Peter, Paul, Dick, Buster wants to give. You don't know Buster from a can of paint. And I find it baffling that this woman and any other broadcasters make millions of dollars a year asking tough questions, asking questions that nobody wants to answer, don't want to be said in public, but a YouTuber can't ask the same damn question. And then judge because she wants to block the comments. Hell yeah, I'll block them. So you keep changing your profile, wasting your time playing with your Google account. Because as I said, this is my network and I run this damn network. And you all don't pay me enough to sit up here and talk about this bullshit. I try to bring you stimulating content with commentary. I give my opinion. You don't have to agree, but I'm not going to let you disrespect the comment box, going up and down, leaving long-winded ass comments on why I asked about some guy being gay. Because you're not over there, like I said, at Fox, ABC, Netflix, stalking those damn folks and worrying the hell out of them about a dumbass comment. And last I checked, you don't pay any bills at this address either. Why are you so harsh? Why are you so hypocritical? You all want double standards. You get mad at the news, but you don't go stalk and bother them. You bother a YouTuber. This is the thing I never could understand about some of you. Yeah, I'm saying this because some of you need to hear it. You get so uptight when somebody brings a story. Doesn't mean it's the truth, but you repeat it, put it on the YouTube channel. You get all upset. Oh, that's not true. Oh, they're lying. Oh, who said it was the truth? Just repeating what they said doesn't mean I agree with what they said. But then you want to come over here and stalk the comment box and think I'm just going to let you ride the comment box with derogatory comments about a stupid ass question that other networks asked directly with news cameras, and they get ratings and make 1.5 million on a salary while I'm over here barely living, asking the same damn question. But I'm in the wrong. Whatever. So Emma Lou 5350. I don't give a fuck about your commentary. Go stalk Fox News. Because they make millions of dollars over there asking questions that I'm sure Buster did not like. And he gave the interview. So before you come over here judging what I do and don't do over here correctly, you need to worry about yourself. And some of you need to take a hard look at yourself in the mirror. That a lot of you are stone cold hypocrites. Because you pick and choose who you want to get angry with about a story. When in the end, there are dead people that nobody has stood account for their murders except for Mr. Murdaugh. And that's for his wife and his son. So the time you spend trolling YouTube channel comment boxes and polls and commentary and community pages, you should be more concerned about these people getting justice for being deceased and possibly murdered. Because in the end, that's who the story is about. It's not about Angela. It's not about the Vault XL. It's getting to the truth. And I realize a lot of you are like the people in the story. That is the reason why we have true crime right now. Is because many of you, and I've said this 1,000 times, you're 2 minutes away from being the same damn story. Because you think just like these people. That's why you're so hot and bothered about somebody asking about Buster being gay. Because possibly you're living like these people. You're living on the edge. You're jacked up. You're fucked up, flawed, and you're worried about what somebody's going to say and who's going to put the secret out. That's life. And I can tell you right now, you're sitting here rooting for these fucking people. If, like I said, if they saw you in the street, they'd step right over you. They wouldn't give a damn about you. So here's my answer to you, Emma Lou. Kick rocks. Now go repeat that. Never seen people want you to talk about dead people and act like, you know, we're a Sunday at the beach. We're sitting here talking about people that's being murdered. It's ridiculous. Once again, pertaining to double jeopardy, 89% of you believe if evidence comes out later on that a person did commit the crime, they should be retried. And 53% of you do believe Buster Murdaugh is gay. Oh my goodness. Did Rex and others murder Shannon Gilbert or just Rex? Rex and others, 26%. No, 6%. Not sure, 23%. Just Rex, 46%. Is there more than one suspect in Stephen Smith's murder? Oh my gosh, somebody's going to get really disgusted. 78% of you believe yes. 8% of you believe no. 4% of you said not sure. Let's see who had the comment. Texas said something about both Murdaugh boys and their friends after leaving area baseball game. I don't really understand the point they were trying to make. Did Buster have a sexual relationship with Stephen Smith that led to murder? 68% of you said yes. 13% of you said no. 19% of you said not sure. Was Stephen Smith murdered because of his sexual identity, a hate crime, personal, or both? Hate crime, 22%. Personal, 11%. Both, 67%. Believe it was a hate crime and personal. If Murdaugh had not killed his family, do you think Stephen Smith's case would be relevant news right now? Yes, 16%. 84% of you said no. How about that? And 90% of you believe that there are other live cohorts in the murder of Tupac. They've got new evidence pertaining to Rex Heuermann and the links to the serial killings. More crazy nonsense. Please take my post pertaining to the Menendez family. They were my last subject matter last night. Rosie O'Donnell believes these boys should be free. Do you believe that the Menendez brothers should be released from prison? 92% of you believe that the family members turned a blind eye of the father abusing the sons. 4% says no, and 4% of you said not sure. Wow. Brooks Howe, immediate family. Are they involved in the disappearance of Miss Crystal Rogers and the murder of her and also the murder of her father, Mr. Ballard? 92% of you said yes. Do you believe the grand jury refused an indictment of Brooks Howe years ago due to fear or favoritism? Yes, fear, 45%. Not sure, 45%. And favoritism, 9%. And the rest is about my crazy other subject matters. Oh, Lord. 56% of you believe that Mr. Menendez did sexually assault his boys. 19% of you said no, and 25% of you said not sure. Do you think this new allegation by this Roy person who was a Murdaugh group member, he alleges that he was raped by Mr. Menendez. Do you think this will help free the brothers, the Menendez brothers? 33% of you said yes. 40% of you said no. 27% of you said not sure. 42% of you believe they should be released from prison. 58% of you said no. 53% of you believe the allegation from Mr. Roy 18% says no. 29% says not sure. Somebody has commented. Happy Hippie, as I read her comment last night, she says she believes the Menendez brothers, that they're telling the truth. And I believe the dad abused them physically and emotionally. The way they were so emotionally during court was not an act, in my opinion. It doesn't justify murder, obviously. I believe the mom knew what was going on as well. I wouldn't doubt that the father would commit such acts on someone else as well. Just my gut feeling. That's one of my fans, Miss Happy Hippie. Please take the polls pertaining to the Menendez brothers. I don't know. I just find it strange. I guess it depends on your perception, as I always say. The fact that they told family members, Lau says he told somebody and the father stopped abusing him at 8. Then he started abusing allegedly Eric at 5, because they're 3 years apart. And that sexual assault went on from 5 to about 18. Eric was coming out of high school, if I'm to believe these allegations against Mr. Menendez. That's a long time to be sexually assaulted by your father. And then other people knowing about it. Because we have Eric writing a letter to one of his cousins. The same cousin testified in the first trial. 51 witnesses, hung jury. Second trial, judge wouldn't allow the essay commentary, which I don't understand why not. It's a very sick situation. But what will be sad if we find out somewhere down the road that they weren't essayed by the father and they just told these relatives these stories to set up the plot to kill their parents. But as Rosie O'Donnell says, there has been no evidence to show that the boys killed their parents for money. And I find it strange that a boy, as he would get older, that he wouldn't try to fight off his attacker. Because, you know, boys and girls don't navigate the same. And as a boy gets older, it seems like to me he would be like, okay, hey, I want you to stop touching me. Hey, this isn't right. Hey, don't touch me. Kingwood teen allegedly beat, choked by own mother for not wearing hijab in social media posts. This is the craziest piece of nonsense I've heard in a while. Let's get down to this. KPRC2 Houston is the source, bringing you commentary on breaking news and true crime. Let's talk about it Friday, everybody. Let's get down to this crazy nonsense.
Burning her teenage daughter over what she wasn't wearing in a photo, and also for overwarming some bread.
Yeah, that mother has been arrested and tonight is in the Harris County Jail. And that is where KPRC2's Bryce Newberry joins us now live with these horrific allegations in this case. Tell us about it, Bryce.
Yeah, Keith, Daniela, that mother got booked into the Harris County Jail overnight. Tonight, she is accused of choking her 14-year-old daughter after seeing her without her hijab in an Instagram post. That is according to a source close to this investigation. Tonight, she's also accused of burning her daughter with a hot oven rack after that teen allegedly overcooked pita bread. With a translator at her side, 36-year-old Sitar Khan making her first court appearance on Wednesday afternoon, facing 2 felony charges.
Assault family or household member impeding breath and injury to child.
According to investigators, the physical abuse against her 14-year-old daughter, a result of the teen not wearing her hijab.
The defendant upset the complainant did not wear her hijab at school, beat and choked the complainant, causing her to lose consciousness.
The hijab is a garment worn by some Muslim women to cover their hair. A source close to the investigation says Khan spotted the missing head covering in an Instagram post. The injury to a child charge stems from an incident over pita bread, after prosecutors say Khan got upset about it being overcooked.
Forced the complainant's arm onto a hot oven rack, causing her to have 3 burn marks.
Oh my God.
Prosecutors wanted a $75,000 total bond for the homemaker of 17 years, but the hearing officer set it at $20,000. Khan is expected in court Thursday morning.
And we learned in court that the 14-year-old victim in this case is in Child Protective Services custody tonight. We did reach out to an attorney that's been hired to represent Khan several times tonight, but have not heard back. Reporting live down.
A Kingwood mother, heathen rather, is facing felony charges after allegedly beating, choking, burning her teenage daughter for being upset with her for not wearing her hijab and overcooking pita bread, according to Harris County prosecutors. What in the fuck is wrong with people? Oh no, Queen, don't say anything, because somebody might get angry and unsubscribe. So let me guess, how should I discuss this situation, since some of you get your panties all in a knot about how I bring commentary to my own channel? Oh my goodness. So some of you must think it's okay to burn a kid, choke a kid to where she passes out because she didn't wear a hijab in an Instagram post and burn the pita bread. I'll wait. Why are you so harsh? I'm harsh because of stories like this. Goofball. Yeah, I'm on one today. Because I get tired of people trying to tell a 52-year-old woman how to fucking behave. When you got people out here hurting children and kids, killing people because they're gay, killing people because they were sleeping with them, killing people because they want to move on, killing people because they want a divorce, killing people because they want insurance money, but you're too busy worrying about the Vault XL having a harsh attitude. Think about what the hell you're saying now. The state won a $75,000 bond. Exactly. Because you're giving her a pass to walk the street after burning and choking her child because of a head wrap. How's that okay? The child is now in state's custody. So where are the other relatives, friends that could have taken the child in? This is bad business. Texas. Big state, big problems. You all have a lot of problems. Every time I go in the queue between Memphis and that damn Texas, you all don't like children. At the bottom of this state, Texas, Florida, you all are some hateful motherfuckers, but they're so worried about the Vault XL. Maybe that's what we should do, get some of you commenters in some of these houses and see how you would fare. You might not be so concerned about the Vault XL. I'm just saying. Can you imagine somebody taking your arm and putting it on a hot eye and burning you? Because you didn't wear a head wrap in a social media post. You burned the pita bread. The mother seems to be very angry. Hey, why don't you all go stalk her? Because it seems like she's got some problems. Because I'm not putting little kids' arms on top of eyes and choking and beating up little girls. Because I have better things to do with my time, and I'm not trying to sit in a prison for abusing children. You see, this is what I'm talking about right here. Priorities. You don't wake up one day wigging out over burnt pita bread and a hijab. You've already been angry. You've already been lashing out to the world and possibly your children. And I won't doubt that Department of Human Services will find out she's been abusing her child. Do not know if there are any other children in her possession. If so, they do not need to be in her possession. And the right thing to do would be also to remove those said children. I did not hear that there are any other children inside of this household with this 14-year-old kid. This is bad business. Now we have to ask the ultimate question. Number one, will the state give the child back to the mother? And does the child want to go back home? And thank you, Jenny2521, for your donation. And I don't mind bringing you stimulating conversation and content. And thank you for watching this network. I really appreciate it. Thank you all. Thank you. Some may disagree, but hey, that's okay. That is perfectly okay. A lot of talk naturally about Tupac's death. Who did it? Why? Are there other co-conspirators that are alive that conspired to kill Tupac Shakur? I saw something even crazier about this guy working at this restaurant, and someone stole his backpack. This is, let me put this in this search engine, because I think it's from Popeyes. I'm getting a lot of Popeyes crazy nonsense. As I was telling this family member, I said, what is it with Popeye's chicken and all these crazy stories with Popeye's chicken? First, they're fighting each other for the chicken a few years ago. Now we got the employees popping off doing crazy stuff. Just the most ridiculous thing. I don't know. This was 8 days ago, everybody. Oh, my goodness. KPRC, click to Houston is the source. You can't make this up. Bringing you breaking news around the globe. Yeah, she's ridiculous. And now she's tainted this girl child. She'll probably never feel the same about her religion. And after this, who would want to wear a hijab after this? Well, maybe she'd be so scared she'd put the hijab on. But she's not in her mother's custody now, so she doesn't have to wear the hijab by the grace of God. Thank you. Thank you.
Popeyes employee accused of running an illegal business. What police say he was selling in the restaurant bathroom.
Well, new at 10 tonight, a Popeyes employee accused of selling drugs through the drive-thru was behind bars after allegedly shooting at a customer who tried to rob him. Thank you for joining us at 10 o'clock. I'm Keith Garvin.
Good evening. I'm Daniela Guzman. Well, that shooting happened at an Humble Popeyes off of FM 1960 near Kenswick Drive, and that is where KPRC2's Bryce Newberry is tonight with what investigators say happened. Bryce?
Keith, Daniela, that 17-year-old Popeyes employee is accused of shooting at least 7 times during the dinner rush this evening after what investigators say was a drug deal gone wrong in this restaurant bathroom. This is that teenager being taken into custody this evening, now charged with deadly conduct, unlawful carry, and tampering with evidence. Precinct 4 deputy constables got called here around 4 o'clock after the employee allegedly got into a fight with a customer in the bathroom during that suspected drug deal. That fight spilled into the restaurant lobby and eventually into the parking lot. Investigators say surveillance video shows them fighting over a backpack before the customer, a suspected drug buyer, took off. That's when the employee fired several times in his direction.
The employee was working the drive-thru or working the front cash register, and if a individual comes into the restaurant or a vehicle comes through the drive-thru with the smell of marijuana emitting from the person and or the vehicle, he would pass them a phone number and letting them know he is selling the marijuana itself to call them if they needed something.
Investigators say the teenager has only been employed here for about a month. He is underage, so tonight it's not clear how he got the gun, nor how long or often this illegal drug activity may have been going on.
You never hear of something like this where, an individual's brazen enough to, give his number out and letting them know that he's, a suspected, illegal narcotics seller.
Fortunately, no one was hurt despite this happening at such a busy time in the area. The suspected drug buyer hasn't been caught. And after this happened, investigators say surveillance video shows the teenager put the gun and drugs in his backpack, then throw it in that dumpster here at the restaurant before walking back inside and returning to work. That is, until they arrived and arrested him. Tonight we have reached out to Popeyes, but haven't heard back. We're live in Humble. I'm Bryce New.
Okay, that's a lot of information. Sorry if the volume was down earlier. I just noticed that the volume was down. Thank you all so much. Well, Jenny, let me talk about that for just a second. You'd be surprised how many people sell drugs at their job. I've already talked to 2 separate males who take one buying marijuana at his job and the other one's taking the dope to the job. You've got people who are doing anything and everything for the hustle. I don't agree with taking drugs to your job because, for one, you don't know what's going to happen at your job. There could be a raid. There could be dogs brought onto the property to serve a warrant, anything. And there you are with drugs on your person, in your car. That's a stupid idea. Stupid idea to be buying drugs because you don't know who's watching on inside of the common areas, lunch rooms, break rooms, and the parking lot. Stupid, stupid, stupid. But here we got this guy passing out his number to random strangers, only been on the job a month, wearing a backpack to work, which I'm assuming it's probably got marijuana in baggies inside of the backpack. I won't doubt it. Or something else harsher, probably marijuana. And he's walking around in a restaurant smelling like probably marijuana. That's even more crazy. I'm coming to buy chicken. I don't want to smell marijuana where I'm going to buy chicken. I don't want to smell marijuana while I'm buying chicken, eating chicken, sitting in the what do you call it? The common areas to eat. So you know there are cameras in Popeyes, cameras outside. You get in an altercation with some guy. I'm assuming you know him, know of him. The guy knows what's in the backpack because anybody with sense will be wondering, why is this guy wearing a backpack and he's at work? So you get the fighting, the scuffle goes outside, a gun's issued. Then you take everything and dump it in the trash can in view of a camera. Suspect gets away, you go to jail. Ask yourself, does this make any sense? But this is what's wrong with people. They're so eager to make fast money that they're not using any type of common sense. Why not work your job, be a good employee, and then sell your dope after hours, off the clock and off the property of Popeyes? How about that? How much dope was in the bag? I'm curious. This is what's going on in America right here. Crazy, crazy nonsense. Let's talk about this migration business because I've been wanting to talk about this for about a couple of weeks now, and I want to get it on out there to the viewing audience. Let's see, 2 weeks ago, so that's News Nation. I don't even know if I want to repeat this one. This is crazy. I'm going to read some of the headlines, and you just give me your opinion, and then I'll play some of the audio. Texas governor sends busload of migrants to Los Angeles. That was 3 months ago. 2 months ago, Texas trooper says officials were told to push migrants into the river, deny them water. 2 weeks ago, News Nation. Texas mayor calls for resources as thousands of migrants await entry. 13 days ago, influx of migrants overwhelms Texas border communities. Let's see what CBS News has to say. Oh my God, I'm dead. We also have commentary also coming out of New York from the governor there. They have a female governor. She's basically saying New York City can't take any influx of migrants. I want to know who's feeding them and who's helping them. As my relative said, somebody is helping these migrants because there's no way you are traveling 1 month, 2 months from the Honduras or wherever you're coming from without food and water. So how are you traveling that long with children, using the bathroom? You got to sleep 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months? Come on now. No way you're packing 2 months of food on your persons.
At the southern border have nearly doubled from the last few months. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is now calling for more buses to relocate asylum seekers to Democratic-run cities. Manuel Bojorquez has more from El Paso, Texas.
They arrive by any means necessary, on top of trains, pulled from under barbed wire, or across the Rio Grande, sometimes with deadly consequences. the strain of more than 8,000 a day. Crossing the border is moving north to cities like San Antonio, where overflowing shelters mean some migrants sleep outside.
Migrants that we have encountered here in this area are trying to evade arrest.
We rode along with Customs and Border Protection agents who say they've conducted more than 500 rescues in the El Paso sector over the last year. Migrants often left in bad shape by cartels.
This migrants
Cartels.
For a
Okay.
while. So
That's
our
it.
agents' response at that time, in that moment, was crucial because they were lost.
The majority of the migrants are from Venezuela, which is a country with very limited diplomatic ties with the United States. What does that mean? Well, it's not as easy to deport or repatriate people. That poses other challenges, says Ruben Garcia, who runs an El Paso shelter.
If they get released by Border Patrol and you ask them, do you have a family member, relative, friend in the U.S. that can receive you? Many of them do not.
Desiree Pastra, Francisco Araujo, and their 2 girls are among the lucky ones who have a relative in Houston they'll stay with. But the month-long journey has left them physically and emotionally scarred.
Yo sé que para usted es difícil. You're feeling a lot.
Babies.
Borges joins us now. I want to just drill down on a couple of points in your package. So if migrants are turned back, how do they reach these so-called designated entry points?
Well, a lot of it is word of mouth. And we got to see this firsthand yesterday when we traveled to Ciudad Juarez, just on the other side of the border. There was a group that was turned away by Border Patrol because they were told this is not a port or point of entry where you can ask for asylum. And then they basically just kind of followed others, heard about a place under some fence where you could go, and there was a big group gathered there, and that was a sign to them that this was a place where they could say they want asylum and then be processed.
So it sounds like it's very haphazard, probably not without some risk. So the Biden administration has sent 800 additional troops, of course, to Texas. What are authorities there asking for? Is this enough support?
I think it depends on who you ask. You have Governor Greg Abbott, who at this point is sending more buses down here to move migrants north, who would probably say that's not enough. He has criticized the federal government for, in his view, not doing enough to secure the border and to prevent people from coming up the way they are. But when you talk to some of the NGOs and some of the faith-based organizations and even the counties and cities here, based on the amount of people that they're trying to house and feed, what they really feel is that the rest of the country should maybe help out here. Not just New York, where there's been a big debate about housing migrants, but the man we spoke with today at the shelter said, look, other cities should really help out because we're being overwhelmed here. We want to help everybody out in a humanitarian way, but it's getting to the point, as you saw in San Antonio, where some people are having to sleep on the streets because there really just isn't enough room.
Manuel Bojorquez, thank you for your reporting on the
CBS News is the source. San Antonio, Texas has gotten an influx. New York, as you hear, some of these people from Texas have been bused to LA, of all places. LA already has an influx of homeless people who are from California and possibly other areas. California doesn't need any more homeless people. Big state, but they don't want them there either. And most cities are not going to want people sleeping on the street, whether they're from the U.S., legal citizens or not. That's going to be my next topic after this. We can commingle the topics together. Cities fining homeless people for sleeping on the streets. Some of you may not have heard of this, but it is going on. I've heard of at least 2 cities now fining homeless people for sleeping on the streets. We are in a dire situation in America right now with the rent increase. We don't have no room to house foreigners. And it is unfair to people who put their bid in and the lotteries to become United States citizens, and you're just sneaking through water, river, whatever to get here. It is dangerous. There are too many people dying to get here. There are cases of sexual assault on children and women. You're starving to get here. No water, no food. And in this video, you can see a vast strip of sand that they're just sitting on outside of the American border in droves. 8,000 a day. That's a lot of people trying to make entry into the United States. Something has got to be done. This This can't happen. What is the solution to the border? The wall should have been built many moons ago. Not yesterday, not 10 years ago, a long time ago. Barbed wire is not enough because they're now making their way under that. Few scratches, cuts, I don't care. Drowning in the water, I don't care. The cartel helping them. So now we find out, and I believe I heard this not too long ago, they are paying their last dollars to the cartel to help get them across safely or halfway to the U.S. Most of the people coming from Venezuela didn't know that. This is not good. There are people right now in America facing homelessness because they cannot afford their rent. Rent has tripled here in East Tennessee. Many people are having to move out of their apartments, houses, because the landlords have sold the property and or hiked the rent. Now you're talking about people trying to cross the borders to get into the U.S., shipping them to other parts of the United States. You don't need to ship them anywhere because they don't need to be making entry here. I don't wish bad on anyone trying to better his or her life, but it needs to be done the right way. I also have a problem with people living here in the United States that refuse to learn English. That is not right, because if I was to go to Mexico, France, Germany, I would have to know a little bit of their native tongue to navigate through the city. I cannot expect to always bump into somebody that knows English. Everybody knows this. And I don't think it's right for you to come over here, have a baby, cross the border pregnant, and then your child's a United States citizen. Voila, he or she learns English some miraculous way, but you never learn English. And I'm sick of seeing children speak for their parents. And that's the first thing I ask. How does a child know English and the mother and father do not? Find a way to work, find a way to navigate, whether they're getting assistance, not assistance, doing mediocre work to get by. You need to learn English. You need to be a legal citizen. You need to have paperwork saying you're a citizen. Because I bumped into people on a job recently that were working from Jamaica, and they have to go back at a certain point and keep the process going back and forth to come in and out, in and out, in and out to America. Why? Let them people come over here and work. You give them a visa to come, or a temporary visa, work visa. Let them secure a job, and then let them apply for citizenship. What is the big deal? If you give me permission to come and work in America, give me permission to fucking apply for citizenship. But this other BS with all these people coming from Mexico, Venezuela, Honduras, wherever, the wall should have been up. And I can't just go live in Canada. Canada has the strictest laws as far as entering the country. I even learned about this card you can use to have like enter in and out of the Canada if you're a United States citizen, blah, blah, blah. They check your background, all of that. And Canada's going to run a check on you anyway, whether you're visiting or not. This can't go on. We have people currently in America who are homeless by happenstance because of rent, inflation. We also have people who choose to be homeless. They like living on the street. That is your choice. But a lot of cities are now fining Americans for sleeping on the streets. They were putting buoys in the water. Some of you may not have heard of this. Somebody got trapped in one of those buoys not too long ago and died. Now we have this commentary here of officials saying, put them back in the river. Put them back in the river. Lord have mercy, help me, Jesus. 1 minute. CBS News is also the source of this information. This was uploaded 2 months ago. And it's easy to judge and say, well, that's not right. You shouldn't turn them away, but they've got to go somewhere. And as somebody said, are you going to open the door and let these migrants live in your house? sleep in your church, sleep in your gymnasium. They have to be fed. And this country wastes a lot of food. Let me say that. So there's food in this country. If you have to eat beanie weenies and corn for months on end. But the point is, the people have to have somewhere to sleep. Hello, Jess. The people have to have somewhere to sleep. Our own citizens have to have somewhere to sleep. And like I said, many people like being homeless. You've never been homeless. You don't know. There are people who enjoy being homeless. But that is not going to work because many communities do not want camps on their properties, vacant land or not, owned by the government, the state, or personal property. Cities are now fining homeless people for living publicly. Let's talk about this throwing the migrants back into the river. This is crazy. Dear God, help me.
Migrants along the southern border. A state trooper with the Department of Public Safety raised the concerns in an internal complaint earlier this month. He claims officials near Eagle Pass have been ordered to push migrants back into the Rio Grande and to not give them water, even in extreme heat.
Wow.
Trooper also says efforts to deter illegal crossings has put migrants at risk of drowning or being cut up by razor wires. CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez joins us now to discuss. So tell us, Camilo, what are the specific allegations here?
Sure. So for context, John, Texas has deployed Department of Public Safety officials and National Guardsmen to the U.S.-Mexico border as part of this broader effort to deter migrants from crossing the U.S.-Mexico border illegally. What this medic is now claiming is that these state actions are placing migrants, including minor children, in harm's way and danger because they are doing so by placing razor wire on the riverbanks of the Rio Grande, by literally telling migrants to go back to Mexico, by pushing them into the river, back into the river, and more recently by placing barriers in the middle of the Rio Grande, these buoys to stop migrants from swimming across the Rio Grande. He referenced several cases of migrants being cut by the razor wire, including the case of a 19-year-old pregnant migrant who was having a miscarriage. He referenced instances in which he said officers instructed troopers to return babies, children, and other migrants back into the river, into Mexico. He referenced a case of a 4-year-old girl who was pushed by National Guard soldiers and who subsequently had a medical episode, and fainted. And so these are very concerning allegations. He also made a claim that officers had made a directive to withhold water from migrants. And we've heard humanitarian concerns about this operation before, but this is the first time we've heard an internal report of this kind, John.
And so what has the response been, both from within the Texas government, but also within the Biden administration?
The Texas Department of Public Safety, which is at the center of this allegation, has said that its inspector general is reviewing these allegations and investigating them. But the department did deny having a directive to withhold water for migrants or an order that instructs officials to push people physically back into the river. The Office of Texas Governor Greg Abbott has said that it is focused on repelling illegal entries, and it is framing this as an effort to counter what.
Let me read. Hold on. I want to read this statement from the Travis. What is his name? Travis Considine. He says troopers give migrants water. They treat their wounds. They save them from drowning. They also do everything possible to deter them from risking their lives. In the first place, here are messages between the Texas DPS director and his chain of command about those. I'm trying to read this. Challenges. So what's the truth? Naturally, the government's going to try to cover their butts by saying, no, we're not drowning them. No, we're not denying anybody water. But if this deputy or whoever, Border Patrol deputy, is saying that he has witnessed drowning, deaths, starvation, whatever, and told to do something to hinder life-saving measures, why would he lie about that? Let's ask that question. So now we're saying the deputy is lying about being told to deny migrants water, putting buoys in the middle of the water to help deter the people from crossing over. Putting barbed wire in the middle of the water to deter people from crossing over. As I just told you that someone died getting caught up in one of the buoys. And you also hear this man speaking of a pregnant woman being scarred, I guess, having a miscarriage because of the barbed wire. I didn't even know they were using barbed wire. So now we're hearing of different methods the government is using to try to deter people from coming across the water. And obviously the Rio Grande is low water because we know that a lot of Hispanic people are very short in stature, and naturally you would drown if the water was over 5 feet. You wouldn't be able to cross unless you could swim. So I'm assuming the water stays low in order for you to be able to cross over without drowning. This is bad because now we're being accused of murdering people, denying them care. Now, some people would say, well, it's not murdering. They don't have no business trying to cross over and expecting us to help them. And I can agree with that to some degree. But we also don't want dead bodies lying around. And someone can say, well, it doesn't matter. It's not in the U.S. How do you feel about that? Because if the people are near the border and let's say happen to pass away, what does the U.S. do? Just allow the bodies to lie out there? Lord have mercy.
To push people physically back into the river. The Office of Texas Governor Greg Abbott has said that it is focused on repelling illegal entries, and it is framing this as an effort to counter what they see as lax immigration border enforcement policies by the Biden administration.
Governor Abbott has said, this is in response to the treatment of the migrants, no orders or directions have been given under Operation Lone Star that will compromise the lives of those attempting to cross the border illegally.
Administration, on the other hand, is saying that these are cruel and barbaric actions if they are indeed accurate. And again, this is just the latest showdown between Abbott and President Biden and his administration. But I will tell you that the administration will respond to those claims by saying that the number of people crossing the U.S.-Mexico border illegally has indeed plummeted over the past few weeks.
Yes.
And speaking of that, you have some reporting about the Biden administration using a 1950s law to address the migrants. Tell us about that.
Sure. So since the summer of 2021, the Biden administration has relied on this law from 1952 called parole to admit over 500,000 migrants from Ukraine, Afghanistan, Latin America, the Caribbean, and other countries, partly to divert migration away from the U.S.-Mexico border, but also to create a faster path for refugees.
541. What does that say? 541K. So is that over 500,000 people? That's a lot of people. Migrants admitted through parole authorities since 2021. 541. 500,000 plus people. That's a lot of people. And we're just in 2023, coming out of October 2023. That is a lot of people. So where are all those people in the U.S. living? Texas, California, Utah, what? Arizona? Because you got to have money to be able to maneuver, to get around, have a car, have money to ride a bus, a train. And that was another thing I saw here in the last video. The people were traveling on trains. I'd never heard of that before. So there are trains coming out of Mexico into the U.S. Is this true? Never heard of this.
To be admitted here because the refugee process was frankly gutted under the previous administration that did not like refugee resettlement, and because refugee processing, even when it is up and running, takes months or even years to process cases. So that's really why the administration is doing that now.
So this is a new law, a Biden law from 1952. It's part of a historic expansion of legal immigration. 500 plus migrants, 500,000, excuse me. So Mr. Biden, and I am a Democrat, But as I always tell people, I don't agree with everything a Democrat puts on the table as far as law or a suggestion. And I am a liberal, but there's no way we can house 500,000 people from then to now and onward. Because we already have people right now in America who don't have anywhere to fucking live. And you can raise the salaries as best you can, but we know that $13 an hour in my state is not enough money to live off of. $14, $15 is not enough because our rent has tripled here. So the people who are already citizens are barely getting by. Now, that's not counting people who have children. I feel sorry for anybody that has a house full of damn kids. Because things cost. Basic necessities. I'm not talking about luxury, such as flat screens, Xboxes, Michael Jordan shoes, Gucci handbags. I'm talking about soap, detergent, toilet paper, food. You got to have those things. Washing powder, paper towels, paper plates, necessities. As I told a young man yesterday, you are going through money eating out every day. Cook, cook, cook. Buy something to cook at your house. Because that's money you could be saving eating out every day. Everybody knows this. We are at a standstill right now in this country. People are suffering because they don't have anywhere to live. So this migrant issue, it has to stop. We don't have room nor monies to help anybody else when we have people here who don't even have a place to live and they actually go to work every day and have a job. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. I don't know why anybody would send people to damn LA. Texas governor denies busing 12 migrants to the Bay Area. Let's hear what they have to say about that. See, now everybody's denying allegations, denying abuse, denying busing people to California. That costs, as you heard with Venezuela. They don't have a good rapport with the U.S., so there's no sending those migrants back to Venezuela. Then let's talk about putting people on airplanes to fly back to Mexico. Do you know how much that's going to cost to put a bunch of people on a damn airplane, a big boy plane, and then drop them off somewhere that's gas, that's fuel for the airplane? Got to pay the pilot to fly the damn plane. This can't go on. There's got to be a solution, and this is the patrol, the border patrol, the border itself. There should have been adequate sealment of the border.
12 people, some from Venezuela and others from Ecuador, dropped off near this San Jose church. Officials with Santa Clara County said they were given no resources or direction.
It was late at night that they arrived. They were looking around for, where they might go or what their next steps might be, and they ended up at the Washington Youth Center.
From there, they were connected with community groups who serve immigrants. Andrea Martinez manages the county's Office of Immigrant Relations. She says few details are known about who sent the migrants to San Jose.
From our understanding, with the reports from our partners on the ground who are directly supporting the migrants who have arrived, migrants were previously detained in El Paso, Texas, and were put on a bus with a choice of Colorado or California.
This woman, who did not want to be identified, spoke with our partners at Univision. She says she, her husband, and 3 daughters were on that bus. Sí.
Vinieron otras personas de migración que nos llevaron a unos hoteles.
She says after getting to El Paso, they were placed in hotels and eventually put on that bus by people she said were from immigration. Right now, the county and community groups have come together to give the people food, case managers, and places to stay.
They have been through a lot in this journey, from even starting before they got on the bus. And so I think they're processing what they have been through. it's a traumatic experience.
The county says it's working with partners to determine who sent the 12 migrants to San Jose. Texas Governor Greg Abbott's office told ABC7 that they are still only busing to D.C., New York City, Chicago, Denver, and L.A. Right now, Santa Clara County says they don't know if more buses could be on the way, but have had a plan in place for this type of scenario for some time, one they'll continue to implement as needed.
We are prepared for an arrival of migrants to our community, given what we're seeing in other large cities and counties across the country.
In San Jose, Zach Fuentes, ABC7 News.
So, Texas Governor Greg Abbott's office denied busing the group to San Jose and confirmed they are still only busing to D.C., New York City, Chicago, Philadelphia, Denver, and LA. Are you all hearing this? Oh, we didn't send them over there, but we are sending them over here, here, and here. I feel sorry for anybody in this situation because, one, being homeless, destitute is not a popular place to be. I don't care where you live, whether you are in the United States or you're trying to get into the United States or you're in England, France, wherever you are. Traveling a long time in an uncertain world, you don't know if you're going to be hurt, you're going to be human trafficked, sexually assaulted, or if you're going to die. I don't wish that on anybody. But there has to be protocols. And if we had appropriate protocols at the border, we wouldn't have this problem because this is what would be said to anybody trying to get through. You can't get through. So therefore, nobody will be trying to get through. See, you got to pay attention now. I'm not going to risk my life traveling to a place that I know I can't get in. And that's the issue. If the border was secure on all points of entry into the United States, the people would not attempt to try to cross over. That's common sense. You see, they're risking drowning in the waters, the buoys, the barbed wire, and any other method to cross over. If they knew they couldn't get in, they wouldn't attempt to even make the journey. Like right now, I wanted to go to Canada. If I heard that there was hardship in getting into Canada, no way to get into Canada, why would I make the journey? So America needs to tighten their shit with the border. This cannot go on, this busing people. Nobody wants to stand account for busing the people. And one's going to say, if you're busing people to New York, Chicago, Denver, why would I think you wouldn't bus them to California or anywhere else? Just say you did it and be done with it. Just stop the nonsense. And why are you all busing them to cities that's already overpopulated, such as New York City? New York City don't need any more people. They're on a tiny island stacked up like roaches and rats in high-rise buildings and tenements. They don't need anybody else. They just had a flooding. So you think they need more people? You also have to count how people live. These people are coming from warmer climates. They're probably accustomed to living in a warmer climate, They probably are not going to want to live in a place where it gets below zero in the winter. Now, some will say, well, what does it matter? I'm just speaking in general terms. It's best to keep people in a climate that they're accustomed to. Something is going on, and somebody is getting these people here. So now we know that Texas, the governor is busing them places around the United States, the East Coast and the West Coast. And you also heard in this commentary that the cartel is helping these people get to the border. So this is bad, bad business. Continue. So like I said, if the borders were secure, the people wouldn't try to navigate to the United States. My last subject I'm going to do for this commentary, because I'm already in hour 2, we're going to talk about the homelessness in the United States and cities fining the homeless. Lord have mercy. What in the world is going on? Let me see. And some people are also being sued for feeding the homeless. One second, you guys. Let's talk about feeding the homeless.
Are you feeling stuck with 10,000?
Sorry about that, you guys. I was trying to find content about cities who just now started finding the homeless.
Issued by Houston police since March to a volunteer group trying to feed the homeless in downtown Houston.
And the city says that they're violating an ordinance that requires them to get permission to have their meal distribution on the property. Food Not Bombs set up outside the Houston Library where they have been for about 15 years now.
Reporter Micah Hatfield spoke to the group and the city to get to the bottom of this ongoing feud. Micah, good evening to you.
Hey, good evening, guys. There are already a few homeless people out here lined up. They are waiting on a 7:30 food distribution to begin, and that's what's caused the problem. The line is right outside of the Houston Public Library in downtown. The group tells us that they've chosen this location because it's easy for the people they serve to access. They tell us that the homeless people spend a lot of time in the library. The library is what seems like the issue surrounds, according to the city.
It's almost like a deck of cards over here.
Citations from the city are expected at this point. Since March 1st, volunteers from Food Not Bombs have gotten a collective 29 tickets from HPD.
It's not that I'm volunteering to get the ticket. It's just I'm here, I'm going to serve. And if that means I get a ticket for serving the people who are hungry, then I'm willing to do so.
4 nights a week, the volunteer group Food Not Bombs is outside the Houston Public Library on McKinney in downtown, across from City Hall, feeding the homeless. But over the last 3 months, they've been in a standoff with the city. Back in 2012, under former Mayor Anise Parker, an ordinance was enacted that required groups to get written permission from a property owner to conduct a food service event on the premise. That was not being enforced against Food Not Bombs until 3 months ago. Cherie Dorr, a volunteer, says she's not heard of any other groups that are being cited currently.
The mayor is saying that he's going to continue this process because he wants to take back the public library. We don't serve until 7:30, and this library is already closed by then.
In a statement, the city of Houston says, quote, recently there has been an increase in the number of threats and violent incidents directed at visitors and employees coming to the Houston Public Library downtown. Parents and families have expressed no longer feeling comfortable visiting the library or holding special events. The city asked the group to hold their distributions at a Houston police building on the other side of Interstate 45.
For him to push that information about the homeless in the library, it's not fair, and it adds a stereotype that we just do not like.
The consensus among the volunteers is that they're staying put and will continue to take the tickets. They're asking for jury trials on their citations. The first trial is currently set for July.
So here we are using a lot of time, resources, money, tax money, and stuff like that being used towards this when it's not necessary.
Dorr says HPD Chief Troy Finner did give them a heads up that they would be ticketed before it started, but they haven't heard from city leaders again. Micah Hatfield, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
So this group said they're not going to move from the property. They say the stereotype is not right. The library is closed when they decide to set up and feed the people. But maybe they have an influx of homeless people in the library, and that's causing a ruckus in the library, because you should know that where homeless people gather frequent, there will be a malfunction. That's just common sense. And the more people you have that are dysfunctional, destitute, mental issues, there's going to be a problem. I don't care where they gather. They can gather at the White House. They can gather anywhere. There's going to be a problem. That's just it. And naturally, the public library is just what it is, public. So all walks of life are entitled to be able to go in and have a peaceful enjoyment. The library is known to be quiet, a quiet place to read and reflect. They have events there. So these people are infringing on that, and you can't get mad at that. And also, a homeless person also has the right to go to the library because, once again, it's a public place. But as I said, you know, something negative is going to come along with homeless people going in public places. One, sanitary conditions of the person, how they look, their hair, clothing, body odors. God forbid they decide to use the restroom in public. So you have all type of crazy nonsense that comes along with being homeless. But they are entitled to walk about. You can't be turned away because you are looking a certain way. So this is a problem. And as I said before, some cities are now starting to fine people for sleeping on the streets. That's the content I was trying to find here. This group should move. You're on public property and you don't have a right to be there. Just like I couldn't just go stand up there and sell Girl Scout cookies without permission, or sell clothes or video games or whatever I wanted to sell. You know this. That's just a law. They have offered you options to where you can move and set up the food. Why not take it? I'm sure there's some places that's near downtown where homeless people frequent that you could set up places to feed the people, such as, how about a bus terminal? A public place where they catch buses? A public park? You want me to believe there are no parks near the areas where the homeless are gathering? Come on now. You could easily set up in a park and be out of the way of public business, because you do not want to be obstructing public business. Now, they're saying, well, we're setting up at a time when there shouldn't be any flow traffic, but this is still private property or public property. They don't want it. So I would adhere to it. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Thank you for the donations. I appreciate it, sweetie. So we're talking about two separate issues. Serving the food after hours when there's no flow traffic, and also problems with the homeless in the public library. So there are two separate dynamics going on here. And this group is saying they're not going to move. Well, that's an honorary attitude to have when you're trying to help the public. So why not just move? I don't understand. Okay. I'm trying to find. We know Los Angeles. Oh my goodness. The Skid Row down there is just absolutely ridiculous. Now we have information coming out of Vancouver. They have a spike now in homeless people. I don't know why I can't find this content about them finding the people. One second, you guys. There's a lot. I think it was Oregon. Where I saw that story. Let's see. Yeah, this is Oregon. I think. One second. A lot of it's from a couple years ago. Lord have mercy. Yeah, they have a real big issue in Portland, Oregon. I see this now. Trying to find something. Yeah, you have to have the exact location for this to pop up in this YouTube queue. I think, let me try this article here and see if it shows what I'm looking for. Thank you all so much for following the content. And as I said, many people are homeless now because they're having to move out of their apartments and houses because they can't afford the rent.
Relentless rhythm on the streets that's become routine, affecting everyone, regardless of where they sleep.
Felt like, well, I'm just a worthless person sleeping out on the street.
We've heard Charles Lindsay's story before. Homeless since he was 18 and his campsite cleared by the city.
And I lost just about everything I owned.
Then real cold-blooded.
Josephine Allen is still fighting to get her things back after her camp was cleared a year ago.
It makes me feel emotional right now because it's really a sad thing out here. They don't really realize people's lives is in stake.
A proposed bill by 2 Democrats in Beaverton and Portland aims to change that. It's called the Right to Rest Act, and it would make removing unsanctioned homeless camps on public property illegal, and even allow homeless people to sue for $1,000 if they're harassed or told to leave, as long as there was nowhere else for them to go. But the bill missed the deadline to advance in this legislative session.
If a bill like that was passed, that would definitely be a headwind for us.
Kurt McCandless runs a bike shop in Old Town.
Everyone's entitled to human rights, but when it comes to trying to just be a normal business, trying to cater to especially tourists and people coming from out of town, it can be frustrating to think that it would be more difficult to move people from our storefront when we're trying to do our business here.
Now, the Right to Rest bill has been introduced multiple times. We talked with one of the co-sponsors over the phone today, and they say while the bill won't be passed during this legislative session, they're still going to hold public testimony on it this week. They say it's important to hear public conversation around issues like this and to further this type of legislation, because last time it was introduced, they only got 15 minutes of public testimony, and this week they're hoping for much more.
We should weigh all the options and, bringing these bills to attention and kind of putting it through the ringer as far as public input is concerned is important.
Hundreds of people statewide have already submitted written testimony. The overwhelming majority oppose the bill.
How many of those are housed? How many of them are the business owners that are more worried about getting a few extra dollars than their fellow man out there dying on the sidewalk?
Some argue more support for mental health and addiction treatment will be what it takes to reverse this routine that's currently forcing homeowners out of the city and homeless people into despair.
So we're people, we're not animals, and even animals need to be loved.
The public hearing is on Thursday, and those behind the bill say they plan to introduce it again in future legislative sessions. Blair Best, KGW News.
So this is an Oregon bill. So obviously it was a debate about taking the belongings of homeless people and discarding it from public property. So I'm assuming this is a standstill. This was introduced. This content is 5 months ago. So is it right to pick up their things, the city, discard their things that's on the public property? Do these people have a right to sleep, slumber, beg, pilfer on public property? That is the question. Do you also agree with the city citing homeless people for sleeping on public property, private property? What is it? How do you feel? Well, yes, they'll get more things somewhere and exactly take it to the next place. So you're back to square one after they acquire more things. That's true. But what they're saying is people can't conduct business, as you heard this bike owner saying. He obviously empathizes with the homeless, but like he says, he does own a business. He has to cater to people in general, tourists, and naturally many businesses get monies from tourism. So when people see people camped out in front of the store that look a certain way, sleeping, begging, pilfering, they're not going to want to patronize. So now a business can't make money because people are gallivanting around their property. And that goes for public businesses, libraries, stores. It's all the same. People are not going to want to patronize. Mercy, mercy me. Okay. I'm trying to find this information. And then they also had this from 7 months ago in Oregon. Neighbors say homeless moving into vacant homes. So that's called, we've talked about that before, squatting. And that's a big thing that went on in the U.S. the past couple of years of people just moving into people's properties while they're living in them or not living in them and just taking over. And then it's a civil matter. You can't even put them out. That's even worse. Terry says, I don't agree with giving them citations, but where are they going to go? Well, I don't know, sweetheart. Let's see. I'm trying to find this information. I don't know why I can't find it. Portland put out dozens of portable toilets for homeless people. How do you all feel about that? Putting out porta potties for the homeless. Boy, see, this content can go on and on. I'm now approaching hour 2 hours and 30 minutes. Porta potties for the homeless. How do you feel about that? Oh, Lord have mercy. So 3 months ago, the homeless camping ban, it says homeless camping ban passed in Portland. Yeah, they've been doing that for years, honey. Squatting.
In Oregon's Multnomah County, more than 6,000 people are experiencing homelessness. Now, as calls from some residents and business owners to clear encampments intensify, the city has passed a law making camping during the daytime illegal and putting extensive new restrictions on nighttime camping.
These changes are vital to our community's ability to return to the vibrant place that we all love. The primary concern we hear from these small businesses is the lack of safety on the street, resulting in employees and customers not feeling safe coming into our district.
But the law's critics worry that requiring people to pack up every morning will destabilize their lives further.
When we think of people having to pack up their belongings, their tent and all their clothes, to expect them to carry that around all day is just unrealistic.
This man has lived outside for 10 years. He has asked not to be identified for his safety.
People won't be able to keep up with their property, and they'll end up.
But he's showing his face. That makes no sense.
Things that people need to live comfortably.
He says he has had trouble finding open shelter beds.
Some of the places have like about a 6-month waiting list, so that right there will leave people in a vulnerable place.
Those who repeatedly violate the law can face a $100 fine
There
or
we
up to
go.
30 days in jail.
There we go.
Legal
The
advocates for
fine.
the unhoused say those fines and the law's ambiguous overnight camping restrictions could help render it unconstitutional.
Here, instead of helping them after they've been forced to live outside, we are literally trying to either run them out of town or criminalize them.
It's not just in Oregon. After homelessness rates fell nationally in the early 2010s, they started going up again, up 18% this year compared to last in the Washington, D.C. region, up 7% in the Phoenix area, and up a whopping 139% in Metro Louisville.
There's no place in this country, if you work a minimum wage job,
Right.
that you can
Exactly.
afford a 2-bedroom house.
Exactly.
And only 10% of the country can you afford a 1-bedroom.
Exactly. Exactly.
Debates over whether cities should crack down on encampments are also bubbling up from coast to coast.
In many communities across this country, it's become illegal to be homeless.
Numerous studies now suggest criminalization is more expensive than providing people with housing. In California, one study predicts focusing on housing could save Orange County $42 million a year. Back in Portland, advocates for people experiencing homelessness asking residents, business owners, and policymakers to focus on the community's shared goals.
We all want the same thing, right? We all don't want to see the suffering on our streets.
We did reach out to Portland's mayor before the vote on this ban. He wasn't available to talk to us. The city does, though, have a plan to create a few centralized camping sites for unhoused people to use as this ban comes into effect in July. Allie?
Well, finally found some content about the fines. So, weigh in. What is the solution here? We've gone from talking about migrants coming into the country, nowhere to house the migrants being denied entry into the U.S., denied water, pushed back into the river, says one Border Patrol person. The governor of Texas denying that that's ever happened. But my thing is, you're not down there at the border, Mr. Governor, so you don't really know what's going on. Now we go to the flip side of people who are American citizens, homeless. Some choose to be homeless. Should they be fined? Some don't want a place to live. We've seen this so many times. Some of you have never dealt with homeless people, so you really don't know what it's like dealing with homeless people. Some of the people don't want a place to live. And as you heard this one guy saying he doesn't want his name mentioned, but he shows his face. 10 years homeless, that's a long time. And some would say that's somebody that's 9 times out of 10 just honoring and don't want to work and or keep a place to live. And there are people like that. Let me make that clear. If you've never been around people with that type of mindset, you do not know. There are many people who don't want a place to stay. I have a relative who has that mentality. Had a place to live, finally gets a place to live, and then gives it up because he chooses to chase drugs. That's his choice. But you also can't keep asking for help and expecting to get an arm here and a leg there when you're choosing to be homeless, you're choosing to stay in trouble with the law. Those are all your choices. And when you see these camps on the street, you have to be honest. It is not a good look for metropolitan America, just like you wouldn't want to see the encampments outside your door. So it's easy to say, oh, what do we do with the people? Well, do you want them camped outside of your house, your apartment, your condo? No, you do not. So why do you think it's okay for them to camp out in public? You're not thinking about the ramifications of vermin, rats. You're attracting vermin, possums, wildlife, because they have to eat. Stay woke. When you're out in public, defecating, urinating, throwing your food out, well, the wildlife has to navigate as well. And they're going to now come into the city. And many cities, such as New York, have had to fight tooth and nail to keep the vermin at bay. So when you have people sleeping on the street and they're littering with food and leaving their food parcels out, they're now inviting rats. See, you all have to think about the bigger picture. We know the people have to stay somewhere, but they can't stay on public domain. That's not going to work. You cannot be camped out in front of the grocery store, the department store, the post office, government businesses. Those people have a right to have a business. They pay taxes. They pay for a license. That is their right. We also have a right to go shop in those stores without being accosted, stepping over people. Everybody has a right to navigate. Well, I'm going to say it again, Jenny. Everything is about attitude, disposition. Many homeless people do not know how to navigate properly in society. So if you have a mindset where you're not going to be responsible, you're not going to take care of your things, your belonging, you're going to continue to litter, to fight, to fuss, use drugs, get drunk, you're going to have a problem no matter where you are. Whether it's a tiny house community, condo, campground, on the street, you're going to be a problem. And that's what some people are not focusing on as far as the homeless situation. It's the mindset that got some of these people homeless in the first place. Not everybody homeless is the same. Let me make that clear. But some of these people cannot navigate in a structural environment. This is why they live on the street. Many of them will tell you. I've watched documentaries out of Minnesota. I like being homeless. I like doing me, being me. I don't have to stand account for nothing. I don't have to stand atone for nothing. See, that's a bad attitude. That's somebody that don't want to abide by rules and regulations. That's somebody that possibly get mad at the world, set something on fire, walk off. Throw a hamburger in the middle of the road, the street, defecate in public. I don't care. I don't want any rules. This can't go on. No matter where you think the camp should go and be, it's going to be a problem for somebody. Such as right now in Knoxville, we have complaints in West Knoxville. That's considered the more, upper crust side of town. And of course, there are regular people living on the west side of Knoxville. But the point is, the camps are on land that do not belong to them. And the city is moving them out. So these people have now migrated from the downtown area, central Broadway area, to now West Knoxville. And that community don't want them there. And that's the point of this story. Nobody wants homeless camps in their jurisdiction, bottom line, be it in the inner city or the county, because there's going to be a problem at some point. Number one. Number two, you can't change the mindsets of people who do not want to navigate and be a part of what is normal society. So you can build a place for homeless to live, but at some point, they're going to have to pay for something to stay there, because a lot of places now are not just, rent-free. Even if you get rent-free, goes by your income or subsidized housing, or you get a voucher, you're still going to have to pay gas or a light bill. If the people don't even want to try to work or apply to get any type of Social Security or disability, how are they going to keep their lights on? See, it's more to it than just build a structure. People are not going to want the structure in their neighborhoods, as we have learned in West Knoxville before many years ago. In a neighborhood where I live, the people didn't want the homeless building to be built in a certain area. So it got shot down. Same thing with lower income housing, mid-grade housing. That was shot down here in Knoxville. A development was trying to build out in the county, unincorporated. And here come these highfalutin ass folks talking about they didn't want the apartment building there. Had under 70 apartments, 56 or 66 something units for people making under $70,000. Here you got people complaining. There are people in Knoxville that live all over the county, in the city, out of the city, either side of town, don't even make $50,000 a year, and they're all mixed in. West Knoxville, East, Northwest, South. Everybody in Knoxville don't make $70,000 a year. Everybody in Knoxville don't make $50,000 a year. So why would you be bitching and moaning about your property value going down? So see, there's a complaint in every situation. They're complaining about the homeless. They're complaining about the migrants. They're complaining about lower income built near their homes, or certain income living near their homes, bringing down property values, traffic. It's always a complaint. It's not like somebody said, oh, we're getting ready to build public housing right across the street from your $100,000 house or your $300,000 house. And it can work, because I know of a small area right now outside of Knoxville that has mid-grade, low-grade housing all mixed in off of one street, and nobody's complaining. The Black community is off this one street. On this road, there's income that's at least $31,000 or below on the same road. Round the corner, just a few paces, is a subdivision that has different incomes, levels of houses. And then further down the road, the houses are probably in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, if I'm saying it correctly. And nobody's complaining. Nobody's talking about anybody getting robbed or beat up. And everybody's living off this one street with different incomes. So this bullshit over here in West Knoxville, where they're complaining about building a certain type of apartment complex, is BS. Because people can live cohesively, and people live in Knoxville just like other places, and they all got different incomes. And you can be making $70,000 and be a menace, just like you could make $30,000 be a menace, and also have no job and be a menace. People have got to learn how to get along. And that's the one thing I learned when I visited Toronto many years ago. They didn't litter up there. And it's been 20 plus years since I last was in Toronto. And the one thing I noticed, I said, there's something different about this city and I can't put my finger on it. And the person I was visiting said, oh, we don't litter here. We don't throw trash on the ground. How do you get a human not to litter? I want you to think about that for just a second. All the buildings look the same in Toronto. All brown buildings with balconies. And little do people know that some of those people were low income and higher income brackets, all living in the same neighborhood with one another. It's called a classless society. How do you get different incomes to live in the same demographic without there being a problem? That's the point. People are people. You're going to have ratchet people who are mid-grade income, lower income, don't work, and also upper income. It's about their mindset. Trash is trash. And there are good people who are poor, working class. There are good people who are middle class, and there are good people who are upper class and wealthy. Then there are also bad people who are upper class, middle class. So down the street, the house is worth $400,000. Around the corner, subsidized housing. Around the corner, working class people. And they're all living cohesively. And nobody's bothering anybody. It's what you allow. See, that's the issue. And this is a small town outside of Knoxville that has different income brackets, all mixed in off of one street. And I haven't heard no complaints to the city council or to the city about all these different incomes living off this one damn road. But then you travel to Knoxville, these upper crust white folks are raising hell about some damn community that's not even incorporated. For what? When did making $50,000, $60,000 classified you as a poor person or trash? $30,000. Because that's the point. Everybody is not going to be able to make a higher income. Some people are not scholastically inclined to demand and command a higher income for a salary. That's just the way the world is designed. But you are entitled to have peace of mind and tranquility and live accordingly and be able to live in a decent place, be it a trailer, a condo, a house, a duplex, that's your right. This was a multifaceted live stream pertaining to various topics, true crime and breaking news. I will continue to do this to not always focus on one type of subject matter during the live stream. And this is something that's been on my mind, the situation with the migrants and the homeless. Homeless people are now being fined. Groups are being fined for feeding the homeless. And also we have a migrant situation that is out of control in the United States. And many citizens are being, well, let's say migrants are being bused to other locales in the United States. And is that right? Should the American government turn the people away, not feed them, not give them water, but not allow them into U.S. territory? And should a wall be built on all points to where no one can breach the wall unless they are able to fly? Thank you, Melinda. Because as I said before, we wouldn't have the migrant problem if all of the borders were secure, all entry points. And the people obviously hear of how to get over here, and that's why they're here or trying to get here. That's common sense. And they are willing to go through the buoys, the water, river, barbed wire at all costs. And you have to admit that is diligence, because many people would not risk starvation, assault, drowning to get to freedom, a better life. So we have something to be grateful for, thankful for as a United States citizen. No matter our personal circumstances, our health problems, our issues, family issues, work issues, housing issues, we are free. And we have the opportunity to better our circumstances. So we are fortunate. And I do not wish anyone to ever be homeless and need a place to sleep, because that is the worst place you can be, is needing a place to lie your head. And as I said before, you do have people who live here in the United States that do not want a home. And that is his or her choice. But they also have to know that they cannot just sleep on the public streets and domain just because they do not want to pay rent somewhere. People are entitled to have a business. But we cannot have our public streets and private properties clogged with homeless people and camps and buggies and throwing out trash and littering and loitering and fighting and fussing and crime. That cannot go on. And I will not be in agreement to that type of lifestyle because it's unsavory. And as I've always told people, if you don't like adhering to the rules of this great land, then you should go out in the middle of the forest or wilderness and graze like an animal. And maybe that's where some of the camps should go. Out in the middle of nowhere. That way they're not bothering anybody but the habitat. But so long as you're in the public, this cannot stand. And most of you know this. Because as I have said to you, you may question where the homeless can go, what to do about it. But you would not want homeless camps, buggies, campers, tents parked outside on your lawn, parked outside of your apartment building. You would have a damn fit. So the same respect needs to go for our public domain. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $Big Angie, 129 Cash App, stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. Thank you for the donations, Miss Jenny. Thank you all for patronizing Miss Terry, my other chat members. God bless you. Have a safe week. Be safe out here this weekend. Cooler temperatures in most of our demographics. So wrap up, stay warm, mind the children. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution, not the problem. My weekend suggestion is Rust Creek, now free in the YouTube queue. Please check my community board for the trailer. A young lady is traveling on a Kentucky road in search of employment for an interview. She gets lost in the Kentucky wilderness and she meets trouble on her journey. Very good movie. Rust Creek. Movie suggestion for the weekend. Thank you all so much for joining me. Love you too, sweetheart. God bless all of you. You have been listening to The Vault XL.